Okay, what's up, people?
What's going on out there in the social media world? I'm Jermaine Wright, your LPC.
And I'm Doug Tillman.
And this is the Crash Out Report.
And today we got a very interesting Crash Out Report. But first,
this is
I got to shout out my boys. We down, but we not out. We down, but we not. We coming back, though.
Yeah.
I just got one thing to say to the Cowboy fans. Good luck next year.
And the year after that. And the year
anyway,
after that.
We still champs. We still champs. But all right, let's get into this Crash Out thing. Okay, give me a setup. What we about to look at?
So we got an interesting one here, that involves children, and something going on in a community situation. So some of you may have already seen this video. I'm just going to give you a disclaimer real quick. Some of the things that you are going to see in this video could be triggering. So if you are very sensitive or if you have any trauma, surrounding violence, assault, or anything like that, or even harsh language, this might be a lot for you. So it's okay, if you might want to sit this one out now. But now that we've said that part of it, this is going to give us the opportunity to, unpack some things around child welfare and really have a conversation about like what are some of the things that are going on in the community that's leading to some of our children, our young people crashing out, and what are some preventative, steps that we can take to avoid that.
Yeah, it's a tough video to watch, but we have to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
We can't just let stuff slide and let people just be alone in their thoughts about what it is. And we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that I always say in the therapy space is that you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. So that's all the more reason why we do want to, we talked about this, like this one that we really want to do.
You can't heal what you don't acknowledge. Yeah. That's for the individual, right?
Yeah, it's for everybody.
For the community.
It's for the community.
The community can't heal from some tough stuff unless we acknowledge it and talk about it. So,
all right.
Without further ado.
You ready to watch the video?
I saw it just one time and let's watch the video. Let's watch the video.
Shamar! Come on, what do you want Shamar looking at? Shamar!
These are middle school students, right?
Shamar looking at? Look at them ankles, bud. Shamar looking at? Shamar looking at? Jaya! Look at them ankles, bud. Shamar looking at? Hey, so don't touch my brother, bro. Judy. Oh, I don't know those ankles, asses. Look at them bitches, man. Hey, so don't touch my brother, bro. Other bitches, kids not touching them. I'm saying, what? Smash that bitch. Damn!
Okay. Set up what we just saw.
Woo! Oh man. So
Yeah.
I mean, we really just saw, a pack attack. We seen a group of kids harassing and very young kids, probably middle school age children, harassing what appeared to be a very young pregnant mother, African American female, trying to walk her kids home from school, and this escalated from just verbally, verbally harassing this young lady and her children to a flat-on physical assault, which led to this lady, this pregnant mom, and her children, being assaulted by these children, by these other children. And oh man, like so many different emotions, went through it. Like, it's just, my immediate emotion, when watching this was just not, anger, but but sadness for all parties involved, for the people who are experiencing the trauma, but then also the children who don't have the awareness and the emotional intelligence to deal with the weight of what's actually going on in this situation, and will have to deal with this, later on down in this moment, and possibly later on down the line.
Yeah, it caused me to reflect on something that happened in the past that we all might have been aware of if you're a certain age, when they talked about in New York City in Central Park when they had the Wolf Pack. Remember they talked about the Wolf Pack? These were older teens, Hispanic and black male, maybe even some white males, who assaulted people at random, but they were older.
Yeah.
They were talking 14, 15, 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
These are younger kids.
Yeah.
Much younger. We're talking 10, 11, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
So, you might think that older kids might know better, but you have a history that they don't. But how much less does a younger person know when they get in this? They got into it like a frenzy. Groupthink.
Yeah.
I don't think they had intentions to attack this lady.
Well, you had the other one, so you could hear people in the background, do this, do that, right? So instigating it and inciting the violence, where you see, like, you're right, there's a moment in a video where you see some hesitancy and some reluctance, but then you're being more empowered by your peers and being influenced to engage into this assault.
Right. And at some point, you're just caught up in, for lack of a better word, the mob reaction. I saw what appeared to be 7 or 8-year-old little girls with pink coats and kicking, just jumping into the fray. So where does this come from? I mean, I don't think they had the mindset to do it, but it got into a frenzy and they just started moving forward. So how did that happen? I mean, the first thing you think is, who raised these kids? And then the next thing you think is, you look at the young mother, she's very young.
But you know what? Young. I peeped some positive things even within there, right? So a couple of things that I observed, and I want to see what you guys think about all of this. I want to just say, like, shout out to the mom, right? Shout out to the mom. In so many situations when something like that is happening, and you'll see an adult level down and be as ignorant as a child is being. But shout out to the mom for keeping her cool and just being like, oh, yo, listen, y'all need to go ahead and grabbing her son's clothes, right? And I want to say to you, mom, if you come across this Crash Out Report video, good job with your son. Good job with that young man. Because you know what I saw that young man do? That young man knows that his mom is pregnant. You know what you saw him do? He grabbed. Oh my God. I mean, he shouldn't have to be in that situation. But even at that young age, to have that level of awareness to say, yo, I gotta make sure that my mom is okay, and I gotta make sure that my baby brother or my baby sister is okay, man. Listen, mom and dad, nurture that, get that young man the support that he needs, and really help him take it to the next level, because that was good stuff.
Yeah, that was a term you used I never heard before. Maybe you made it up, leveling down. But I get what you're saying. But I don't know.
Yeah, we live now.
This young lady here may not have had that instinct, that aggressiveness to go after, the other kids who were attacking them. And I think they sensed that she was a vulnerable personality, or she's just vulnerable because she knows she's pregnant and she doesn't want to get into this.
Yeah. But I think she did. I think she makes it worse. I think she's being intentional.
Okay.
She recognizes that, hey, I'm pregnant. Number one, I'm pregnant. Number two, I have another younger child. Right. You saw the little girl, that was her child as well. So there's another child here. So maybe I'm pretty sure she's probably pissed off. Right. But if I allow myself to lean into that, what's going to be the cost? Yeah. Because that potentially makes it much worse.
It does. So
it looks like it's about at least 8 to 10 of these children, right. And it's just her and her small children. So if she turns up and tries to start fighting, you could injure your baby, the one you're pregnant with, or you have the potentially to have a violence substantially, impacted upon you and your other children.
So how do you address this? So somebody's videotaping it. I presume another young person who could possibly be an instigator, and the people involved probably know every single person, and they're caught on video. So you know who they are. How do you address this? Do you pull in the parents and the children?
Yeah.
Do you get? Do you call the school district to bring in counselors to address this with the individuals?
Yeah.
Do you review this video with them and talk about what happened? I
think all of it. I think you all of that, but I think one of the things that really needs to occur is like how we started off talking about this video is that your disrespect was public.
Yeah.
And your apology, and the things that you need to do to make amends, to make it right, should be just as public as your disrespect. So when it comes to community service, when it comes to a formal public apology, and when there comes to accountability, I think all of those things should be publicized. And I think there should be, something that's developed, like some type of treatment plan.
Who apologizes?
You know what? I'm gonna say this just as a parent. First off, your parents,
right?
Your parents and those children owe that whole entire family apology.
Well, I think if the parent steps up for one of the children that says, that was my child there, that's not what we do. I didn't train my child to do that. Maybe she got caught up in that. But I'm apologizing because that's not who we are.
Yeah, but
she doesn't know that yet.
Which is cool, but then, all right, you can't, that can't just be hollow words, right? So, all right, cool, you feel that way, right? Now, you and I grew up in a different era, right? If you did something to one of your neighbors, so you tell me it wasn't going to just be a pop. Well, you about to be over there, you cutting Miss Johnson grass, right? You're going to really learn from that.
Oh yeah, the whole neighborhood's going to pull up. Yeah. Miss Jackson, my next door neighbor, would grab me by the collar. So what you doing, boy? And my mother would not have anything to say to her if she grabbed me or struck me.
But that's another point, right? So you asked earlier, like, how do we get to this?
Right.
So being a former therapist within a school setting, I think the other issue that makes it difficult to shape the mindset of these children is that a lot of us had told our children that your voice, you as the parent, that your voice is the only voice that your child is supposed to listen to. So how are you supposed to correct any child that you see doing the wrong thing if they're taught that they only have to respect the adults in their house, and then they're also taught that respect is aggressive? They're only taught to respect aggressiveness when it comes to an adult, not like, hey, young man, young lady, hey, what are we doing out here?
And how are teachers taught to speak to them? Because the first thing the teacher hears is, you ain't my mama.
Yeah.
You ain't my daddy.
Yeah.
And they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They don't have a framework of a sense of the community.
Yeah.
That the only adults in their life that has any relevance to support their upbringing and give them and inform them about their behavior is beyond their parents.
Yeah.
Their parents aren't telling them, go listen to your teacher. Whatever your teacher says, you do and respect what your teacher says.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the teacher coming back saying anything about you, because we're going to have to talk about it. I did that with my son and my daughter. More with my son and my daughter, but you know, so you have to let them know how to act when they get out in public, because they have to come back home. They better come back home with a good report. Well, who's telling them that now?
But well, you know, the parents should be doing it, and then it should be reinforced. So it should be reinforced by things that we call within your ecological system. So your ecological system is everything that exists within your environment. So, you know, you're not, you know, it starts foundationally with the things that you're getting at home within your family dynamic, but also part of it contributes to emotional and psychological development and learning is things that you experience within your community, and then things that we experience within institutionally. You mentioned, you know, the byproduct of having neighbors, but then institutionally having a respect for teachers and other authorities, you know, church members, if you go to church, the masjid or whatever, you know, other institutional support figures that we're going to come in contact with, that's also going to shape your mindset and your development.
They can bring that foundation, but do they have that foundation? Because when the child says, you don't talk to me, you're not my mother. And then when something happens and the parent goes to school, the parent got a problem with the teacher. So where's the foundation? It's not with the parent. Right? So, you know, being in social work and I've worked in social work as a social worker. Whenever we encounter situations where parents were falling short on their responsibilities, we would tell them or ask them, or they would be delegated by court to go to parenting classes. Because they don't know how to parent. Just because you have a baby don't know means you're a parent. You're right. That's an action word. That's something different. So it's not something that's just a term that describes, but there's action that goes into the concept of it. And I think there just needs to be, you know, accountability. There needs to be a fine line between accountability, but not also, you know, part of the reason why it's so difficult for people to get the support that they need, not utilizing, you know, the system and weaponizing the system against people who may just need some support and can do better, because that's the dark side of it. Whereas though there's people that's just having challenges, right? You know, who just may need some resources. They may need a parent coach, right? Kid might need a mentor, kid might need an IEP, a behavioral specialist, something along those lines, right? But because the kid doesn't have access to this, now the state is stepping in and taking parents' rights away. So sometimes parents are afraid to be vulnerable and have conversations about what they need, because they just might need some support. And there's a real fear of having your kids taken away. Is this the continuation of the slippery slope that happened from what our grandparents said? You know, I'm not too old to have heard my grandparents say to me, children are supposed to be seen, not heard. You sit down, you don't have nothing to do with this, because this is grown folks talk. You know, just establishing an order, a foundation for kids. You don't act this way in front of me or any adult. I better not see that. And then you have the era of Dr. Spock. And you don't beat kids. And I also grew up right in that era. I saw and was part of my parents beating me. My mother gave me one beating, but I saw her give my brother's siblings multiple beatings. I just didn't want to be a part of that. But I also saw my mother, who just had a high school graduation, a high school education, eventually go to school and study psychology and social work. And I've seen the Dr. Spock books, and I see visually, and I could remember the moment she decided she was not going to spank us anymore. You know, and that didn't happen. So, you know.
But you know, and please feel free to chime in here. It's not spanking that's the problem, right? It's the brutality of that component when we start, you know, hitting people with frying pans and stuff like that. So, you know, the guidelines suggest that, like, a spanking can be somewhat educational, right? That's not the problematic part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the severity that often goes into it that makes it turn
when it's
into
so late and the kids are so big. A little pat on the behind when they're young can be relatively innocent. But if you start to think that, you know, I need to discipline my kids, or somebody's telling you that, and now it's a 14-year-old kid who's 180 pounds and 5'9".
Well, it's already too late at that point. Like if you're trying to use physical discipline at that stage of the game, you know, it's already too late. That's not going to work the way that you think it's going to work.
Right.
And we have to figure out, you know, what's going on in the situation. I always say, you know, stop moving to fix without understanding what's even going on in this moment. What's going on? What do we need to understand about the situation before we can figure out what needs to be done? Yeah, but that was a crazy crash out. So, and you know what? You know what? And it's very performative, because I agree with what you said. Like, I don't even think the intent really there. They don't really understand, but that's being performative.
Yeah,
that is the dark side of being performative, and you just because you don't really want no smoke, right? Because had that lady not been in that situation, it would have just, you know, she's probably significantly stronger than all of those young kids. So if she I don't
channels, know. Some of them girls is bigger than her, but
listen, just hear me out. But adult strength and children's strength is very different.
Yeah.
So if she's not pregnant and if she does not have her children with her, and let's say she's on a different type of time, and she really hits one of those children with her full full power, that adult strength, that looks a lot different. And you know what I got? I got it scattering. It don't even go that way.
Right. Yeah.
Because you really don't want no problems, but you see someone that's vulnerable.
Right.
So it's causing you to think that you have more power than what you really do have in that situation, because she allowed that to happen, because she recognizes how vulnerable she is. Right. She allowed that to happen.
And the escalation started. And it started with the bigger girl reaching out to him. And later on, you saw the smaller kids. You know, and it's a certain amount of groupthink or mob mentality, if I could say that. And it happens with older adults when they are protesting and they're doing it legitimately, and they're marching down the street, and then somebody throws a brick into the store. And then next thing you know, people who wouldn't otherwise have been looting do this because it's groupthink. It's everybody doing it, so I could do it too. You know, and I think that's part and parcel of what happened, even with younger people. You know, the mob mentality. And I hate to say that our folks are not mobs or terrorists or whatever it is. And what we actually saw is a small section of our society. That's not how most Black people think today. That's not. It's just a small section. And if people want to take that, what they saw, and say, see, look at them, this is how they are. No, that's not how we are.
Correlation and causation are two totally different things.
Right.
So, you know, the correlatable thing here is, you know, a lack of resources, emotional intelligence, and all that type of stuff. But being Black in itself, you know, racial undertones, that's not the root cause of that type of behavior.
And certainly if certain other types of kids were there, they would have done the opposite. They would have broken up the situation and said, hey, what's going on? You know, it only takes one good kid who has the ability to step up and pour with wherewithal to stop that whole thing from happening.
Yeah, but you gotta, that comes from, you know, teaching your kids, you know, and talking to them, you know, developing that mindset, you know, talking to your kids about leadership, you know, talking to your kids about things like emotional intelligence, helping them to develop empathy, you know, and not just sitting them in front of a TV and watching the show. I mean, that can be helpful, but then we have to unpack a little bit and say, hey, well, you know, what was that? What, you know, what did you get? What did you think about that?
Yeah.
Did you feel anything?
Yeah.
Right. Did you see yourself in that character a little bit? You know, have some of those conversations. And then most importantly, you know, our children pay closer attention and a lot of attention to more so what we do.
Right.
And not so much what we say. So what you say is equally as important as what you do.
Mhm.
So what are you showing your kids? How do they see you handling problems?
Yeah.
How do they see you relating to other people?
Well, I mean, those kids are in a way suffering for a lack of understanding about the situation, which goes to their parents. You know, like you said, they respond more to what they see than what you say.
What are they saying?
So somebody has to reach in and help the situation.
Yeah.
If you see these kids acting like this, if you see kids like that in your neighborhood acting in crazy ways or whatever, it's not, you can't always just go to that kid and talk to them. Why not pull up to the parents and have a conversation with the parents?
I mean,
because if you're an older adult, you could.
You can.
However, what's going on with the time now that you can't do that? Like, I saw Susie in that fight. Can we have a talk? What's the parent going to say? You want to talk to who?
I think it's tough, Doug. I mean, I think there's people out there who have tried to do things like that, but then you go to somebody's house and then they act crazy and then they pull out a gun. And then what? When you're just trying to say, hey, did you know that your child is out there? They come, they cuss you out, and they want to fight. Now what? When you're trying to do the right thing. So, I do think it's tough, but I think you should try. I think we should all figure out what's needed in that situation, and we should try. But we also need to consider that it's not a one type of thing solution when it comes to every situation. It's tough.
Yeah. So that was a tough video to watch, and many more conversations probably need to be had about that. I think it's an educational opportunity for, even using social media for parents to have a conversation with their children about what just happened. What did you see happen? What did you not see happen? And do you see yourself in this? How could we stop this? That's an opportunity that's an opportunity for the parents to do that. Don't just go by this and have them laugh at that and say, "Oh, look what happened," and then nothing be said. Something needs to be said about this. I don't know if this is an educational opportunity or moment for school.
I think so.
To bring this into the school and say, "Look what's happening here." Who are we that this happens, right? To have that conversation, because I think it will strike certain people in a certain way. If a situation that happens, they will be able to pull themselves back and say, "Oh no, I see what's happening. This is not me," or "I see where this is going. Let me pull up on my friend and say, yo, we don't need to be a part of this." Something has to be said. This is an educational opportunity to present to kids, to talk to them.
And adults. And I think in this setting, education is definitely the key when it comes to fostering awareness and shaping the mindset, in addition to modeling the appropriate behaviors as adults to our kids. And they got to see you in action too.
Right.
Like, hey, listen, that way when you have these educational conversations, you get to say, well, hey, you saw mommy get upset, you see daddy get upset, and looking like how I handle it. So my expectation is for you to show leadership in this way and handle things similarly.
How do you process this? How would you think? How would you feel if you were that mother? How would you feel if you were that child?
Man.
And, how would you feel if that was your friend that just reached out and kicked somebody's mother?
Yeah.
I mean, it's for all bad that social media has, stuff like this can happen. And we see stuff on social media and we're like, whoa, how could that happen? And it's stuff that actually has been happening through history. We just didn't have the camera.
It wasn't
to
publicized in that way. Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to talk about this and address it, as tough as it might be to see.
Yep.
So this is a crash out moment, as what we hope these videos do is show people's behavior at acute moments in time and talk about them so that they don't get themselves in a place where they regret.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of talk about this video online, with a lot of the discussion being around, who people perceive these children to be. And I'll end my part on this, and I would say this: like, I think we're dealing with very young children, and I don't think the behavior that you young children, if they come across this video, I don't think that that's who you are. But I will say this: if you continue to go down that path, that is who you will be.
Right.
If you don't learn from this and choose to be different and choose to rise above, something bad that you did in the past, and get the support that you need to really grow and be the best that you can be.
Yeah. Well, I choose to believe, and I fully believe, that most of our children aren't like this.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't. But for the ones who have seen kids that they associate with who are like this, or who have been in a similar situation, think about it. Think about your future. Think about, is this you? This is not a funny situation if other people are laughing at it.
What if that was your mom? What if those are your siblings?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And the answer is not to get into a fight.
Yeah.
We want to avoid that entire situation.
Yeah.
Just know that you're bigger than that, and you're smarter than that. And it's a process. When you're growing up, you may not know everything yet. But if you associate with people who have your best interests in heart, they love you, they care about you, they'll steer you the right way.
Exactly. All right. So I'm Jermaine Wright, your LPC.
And I'm Doug Tillman.
And this is your Crash Out Report. Take care.